The Misadventures of an Escape Artist, Episode 7. The Actor, Act 1. After coming back to Montreal, a girlfriend asked me to join the Ligne d'Improvisation du Plateau. This was an improvisation theatre group based in Montreal. I was quite interested and began taking acting classes with a few good local theatre teachers. I was then 24. I was asked to replace an actor who had fallen ill. I was to be the principal actor. The play was about domestic violence, and my character was a 40-year-old wife-beater. I worked day and night to learn the lines. The night before the premiere, I went to a bar for a drink with a friend I had only known for a few weeks. For fun, she put a tab of LSD in my drink. She informed me only a few minutes after I'd finished my beer. I'd never taken acid in my life. Sure, I had tried several drugs in my youth, but that night was not really the right time to try an hallucinogenic drug for the first time. The premiere of the play was the next day. I was scared to death of ruining the premiere, so I stayed up all night, eyes wide open, fighting the effects. Although this was not strong LSD, I didn't sleep a wink. According to the newspaper reviews the next day, my performance had been stellar. Creation of Landreville. I and two of my friends, guitar player Pierre and John, our drummer, decided to go visit my cousin Gilles, who lived alone in an old house in the countryside. I told them we were going to breathe in the fresh air, write and practice our progressive jazz rock. For the politically radical bread and puppet show from Vermont, Gilles had designed a rather original puppet system with pulleys, strings and counterweights that slid on a large steel structure. It was a mechanism to move a giant marionette himself. His short-term goal was to leave home at the beginning of the summer and drive around North America with his giant puppet show. Immediately upon our arrival at Gilles' old house, we started practicing and composing music for our new musical group, which at the time remained nameless. Our repertoire consisted of jazz, funk and rock. We all worked tirelessly every day. Gilles, who was not a musician, liked to stop and listen to us perform. Occasionally he would play spoons, keeping up with the rhythm. After a while he made his own musical instrument, a kind of maracas, adding rice to an old box of tennis balls. Over the course of the weeks he made congas and a few other percussion instruments, using old wooden barrels, pieces of wood, and assorted metal items. Gilles would at times join in and play his congas. I composed the music and lyrics. For example, we really don't have anything to say. The more we talk, the more we lose our way. We've come to warn you, you and I. We have no future, you and I. Over the week spent working with the group, I came up with an idea for a children's play in which we would all act and also introduce my cousin's puppet. Perhaps we could put on our play in the morning and perform our music in the evening. I seriously set about writing my comedy. The story of the enchanted saxophone would take place in a music shop. I would play the big mean store owner, Mr. Potrion, and cousin Gilles would perform as my employee, Petarli, whom my character was unkind to. Gilles' character was the mastermind of my scenario. Our guitarist Pierre played the mischievous little child called Colibri. Our drummer John played a magician with lots of hair and a beautiful long grey beard. I called him Tutenpoil, the French word for furry. John, who was thin and very tall, would come out of an old magical chest to make the puppet appear. He had spent about 10 minutes squished inside the little chest. John didn't speak French at the time, and at first he had no idea of what he was saying, but he knew his lines that he had learned phonetically. He had also taught Gilles to play a few notes on a saxophone. At the end of the performance, we played a song that we had composed. The main goal was to introduce children to music and the excitement of learning how to play a musical instrument. We thought that learning music was extremely useful for the advancement and improvement of our minds. We had musical instruments on stage, including kazoos, small xylophones and flutes. We also had lots of small toys and stuffed animals that we had found and bought at garage sales. At the back of the stage, there was a wide black curtain hiding the frame for the giant puppet. There were also two backstage doors, one for stage left and one for stage right, and a blackboard where the musical notes were written. The play ended with a giant puppet performing saxophone along with us who were playing our guitar, drum, bass guitar and saxophone. After a few months of serious rehearsal, we had both a jazz rock band and a theatre company. I went to Montreal to set up a non-profit corporation for our theatre group. I also needed to look for a manager agent who could find bookings for us. I found a Mr. Allen, a talented scout who agreed to become our agent. We would now be called Landreville, Troupe Musico-Theatrale. In just a few days, Mr. Allen had booked 2 big contracts. We were to represent Quebec at the 1986 Montreal International Children's Theatre Festival. Our performance with the Enchanted Saxophone took place in June at this summer festival in Montreal's Old Port. On the same day, we gave a jazz performance as Landreville. We'd also been booked in August at the Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu Hot Air Balloon Festival. Some dreams do come true. After our June performance at the Old Port, we had no more bookings till August. So after some discussion, we decided to take our band of misfit minstrels to the Gaspé Peninsula. The Gaspé Tour. Since it was a 6-hour drive, the 4 of us left bright and early in the morning. On this early Wednesday morning, we had stuffed ourselves into Gilles' old Volkswagen pickup truck and put all our instruments and amplifiers in a small trailer. We arrived in Rivière-du-Loup late afternoon and parked in front of a bar on Principal Street. I went to talk to the bar owner, hoping to get us booked for at least one night. I told the manager that we were a jazz rock band from Montreal, starting a tour in Gaspésie, but this week we were not booked. Apart from the local musicians, big city bands were like unicorns in this neck of the woods. We were booked for 4 nights with room and board as well. The news quickly spread that a group of jazz rock funk musicians from Montreal had arrived. The bar was packed that night and every night thereafter. We only had 4 songs in our repertoire, but we improvised a lot, danced around, and were dressed in weird and funny clothes. Gilles was not a musician, nor had he ever performed on stage. We prepared a corner for him with his congas, bongos, chimes, spoons, tambourines, bells, and djembe drums. By moving and dancing, the effect was perfect. No one in the room would have guessed this was Gilles' first night as a professional musician. We set off again and headed towards Matapedia Valley and the Baie de Chaleur. Over the next 5 weeks, we travelled through the villages and coastal towns of the Gaspé. We barely made enough money to eat and pay for gas. During that summer, I received a scholarship from the Quebec government to study theatre in Paris. I would be studying with Philippe Gaulier, a friend of Lecoq, the famous actor. I had been accepted at the Philippe Gaulier School. We finished our summer with the Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu Hot Air Balloon Festival in mid-August. We put on our play, The Enchanted Saxophone, in the morning, and in the evening performed our 4 compositions on the festival main stage. It was a huge venue, resembling the likes of a big rock concert. And we were treated as stars. What a trip, what a show. After the performance at the Hot Air Balloon Festival, Gilles and I rented a huge loft in Montreal, at the corner of Saint Laurent and Bernard Streets. At the same time, I was starting to work as a bass player with a group of jazz musicians, A Few Colors.